Welcome back to episode 5 of the Straight Line mission across New Zealand. You rejoin us as we were about to go to sleep on the outskirts of the Tararuas, preparing to make the crossing the very next day. Cool, so it's a couple hours later now. We had dinner on the road, kind of in that direction. We went a bit along the road, but you can kind of see it from there. And now we've set up the tent, so we got a small tent. And we're just going to get organised, getting our food all sorted for the next day and potentially 2 days, as we're going through the Tararuas tomorrow, and we're not going to have any be able to meet our support crew at all. So we're going to have to carry a lot, so our packs are going to be extremely heavy. So the aim is to try and eat and drink our way through as much of it as possible to lighten the load. So that's the plan. But yeah, tent set up, just going to get the bed rolled and sleeping bags out, and then we'll probably get an early night. What's the time now, Finn?
9 o'clock.
Yeah, so it'd be good to get asleep by probably half an hour's time. So yeah.
What is tent stuff?
I think potentially all roll mat stuff. I'm not sure. It was just down there. But yep, good night, guys. It's the morning. We've packed up the tent. It's now about 7:15 a.m. and we're about to head off into the heart of the Tararuas as we are going. So I'll follow you, Finn, if the GPS is ready. Okay. We will be back. After waiting for a couple minutes for the GPS to adopt a strong connection, we were underway. Now, despite a very good night's sleep, we were still more exhausted than ever, which you will see correlated to the quantity of conversation and commentary in which we contributed. So in the vacancy of our velvety vocal cords, I invite you to take in the delightful New Zealand landscape on a beautiful summer's morning, full of stunning colours, and if you listen closely, you might even hear some birdsong. Oh yeah, I hear a stream or river. That's a steep hill. Oh my gosh. At the bottom of this valley, the tree canopy was starting to get so thick that even though it was the brightest of summer days, it was very, very dark. As we climbed out of the valley and into the last open section of grass before kilometres of trees, the combination of the last couple days, the beating sun and the steep gradient was made very apparent by Finn's lungs next to the microphone. Just a quick side note, if sped up to 5 times speed, this sounds very similar to the kayaks being pumped up in episode 3.
It's like 120 meters in 600 meters. Including the vertical drop, so it's actually like 120 meters in 300 meters. We've just got to the stream and filled up our water. Now I'm having a pick spin at Butterslow. Please sponsor us picks.
Something we didn't mention at the time was that while in these valleys, with the thick vegetation above and steep slopes on either side, our GPS was only giving us accuracy of around 12 to 15 metres, with it reaching up to 17 metres inaccuracy at its absolute worst. When we're aiming to be within 25 metres of our line at all times, this obviously makes things rather tricky. So while battling to get through the hideous terrain, we also had to keep incredible concentration on the GPS, as with the inaccuracy, any complacency for just a few seconds would lead to serious errors.
And then we got to go up that on the other side. Once again, probably doesn't look very steep, but I think it's like 300 meters elevation in like 150 meters or something. It's something like stupid. So we're probably not going to film anything, just because we're going to need both hands, because it's going to be very sketchy. So hopefully we'll see you at the top of the hill.
Okay, so it's currently 1st of August 2022. Future Finn and Ollie here, obviously.
Now, so for the next part of the line, we actually didn't manage to get much footage for reasons that will be further explained.
So we've come into a little bit of local bush to hopefully give you a gripping retelling of what happened.
So yeah, take it away, future Ollie and Finn.
So this next hill, we decided it was still not ideal for us to wear the GoPro, simply because we couldn't fit. And you may be thinking, we have these huge packs on, how can a little GoPro not fit? Well, it was more or less like this, just dense, thick vines. To get through, we took our packs off. One of us climbed through, and then the person behind shoved their pack through to the second person. But yeah, as you can see, not ideal for tramping. And yeah, we were kind of afraid we were either going to damage or lose the GoPro, which would not have been good for us. So although this type of vegetation is accurate of the kind of, well, mostly accurate of the density of the bush we were walking through, it was probably about twice as steep. So we were kind of climbing, pushing bags through. Yeah, very slow moving indeed.
Here, you see future Finn demonstrating the struggle of navigating this thick bush. Picture past Ollie and Finn doing this, except climbing up through it vertically and with tramping packs. Now, I also should address the elephant in the room. There are now 5 people aiding in the tale of our journey, so to avoid confusion, here's a quick guide. You have me, editing Ollie, the disembodied voice narrating the journey. You have future Ollie and Finn with their distinctive pink and purple baseball caps. And lastly, you have Ollie and Finn on the straight line, who can be spotted by their distinct expressions of suffering.
Quick update. This is where we came from.
We're at the top of that. I saw you down in the bottom of the river.
And yeah, all the way down there.
Now it's almost an hour later. It was very slow.
And we're just
Rough terrain.
continuing up the hill.
We're not at the top of the hill yet, we're about halfway up, but this is the first time we've actually seen daylight since the top of the hill over there, really.
There's a palmy over there.
We have reached the top of that really steep hill, and I don't know if you can see the orange triangle, but we have found a track. It's probably one of the 3 tracks we might be crossing the Totteros. It's not actually marked, so it's obviously a small line. However, we will not be taking it, we'll keep going that way. But yeah, just having a bit of a break again. It's pretty tiring work at the moment. Ken's just checking the top limit.
So we're in a little gully valley now. We've got a little pinch and then back down to the river, and then a big kind of 100-meter vertical climb up to another high point. We'll go down again, and then we'll go up the final big climb of the day, and then down into the farmland. So we're about halfway from our camp spot to the farm, which is good. We're making pretty good time.
It is worth mentioning that the clips you're seeing are incredibly spread out, with usually 40 minutes to an hour between them. That being said, we were making good progress, with no deviation outside of the platinum boundary. You can also see from our GPS path that some of the terrain and vegetation was so brutal that the GPS was pinging around as if we were stationary. Believe it or not, this patch here we are moving forwards. This whole section was just complete and utter agony.
Haven't recorded in a couple of hours. I think we came from like down here, and then we've been climbing up through this couple of hundred meters, and it's taking ages. And about 600 horizontal meters from the top of the last hill, of at least significant size. But it's taking ages, and we are very, very tired. And slightly lightheaded.
We just need to hold up a sec. Less than 5 minutes after that clip was recorded, a complete disaster struck. It's going to be quite hard to properly explain what went down, so I'm going to hand you over to future Ollie and Finn to tell you this tragic tale.
So this is the story of when Ollie decided to fall off a cliff. We're in the reed, just chilling. By chilling I mean gruelly slogging up a hill. And then the next 15 meters things seriously went wrong. We now cut to award-winning Oscar nominee Oliver Taylor, who's bringing you all the action.
Now for this recreation, I decided I didn't want to walk off a cliff again. So we have found some nice earth bank that will do the job and hopefully will not cause me to break any legs, which is an added bonus. I'm walking up this hill and lots of pain from my legs, my back, my arms, and much, much more. And as you can see, there's vegetation all around me, around my chest level, meaning I cannot see anything below this area here. This means, as I'm walking along, I effectively just step straight through and my foot finds nothing, except my weight's not on this knee here, it is going onto this foot. As I come around, I grab onto all the vegetation which I talked about, which luckily I managed to cling onto and don't just pull straight out the ground. So I am now hanging on to all this sedge vegetation and slowly slipping down further and further. So I'm slipping further and further down, and then luckily my foot finds a tree branch around maybe 2 meters down, so I'm really hanging like this off the cliff. I find this tree branch, which is very lucky really, because if there was no tree branch there, I probably would have slid and just keep falling, and the cliff was, say, I think about 6 or 7 meters. So it potentially could have been fatal. So at this point, my arms are all the way above me, I was hanging to the grass, and I just found the branch, and it was about maybe a meter long, so I walked along it a bit, and there was a little outcrop, kind of just down to the side. It was not steppable, I had to hop across to it, so it was about probably 1.5 meters away. So I hopped across it. There's not actually an outcrop here, so I'm not going to hop into thin air, but I hopped across the outcrop, and then round the side, because the cliff was kind of like a big cliff like this, and then round to the side, it kind of went into a little gully and eased upwards. So it wasn't vertical, it was still pretty steep, but it meant what I could do was basically pull myself up on a couple vines and just the vegetation, because it wasn't completely steep. I could put some of my weight onto the face of the bank, and I hauled myself up into Finn's loving arms.
Now, I just need to quickly jump in here to mention that one of the first things I thought about as going from this branch to the outcrop was how uncanny the similarities of my situation were to that of Tintin in his visit to America. Let's take a look at the satellite imagery of the cliff face. As you can see here, the side of the spur that turns into the valley is absolutely disgusting. Now, you may be wondering, why on earth did we choose a line that had such an impossible feature on it? We'll answer that with much more detail, and other types of maps, along with many more questions you may have in an up-and-coming line analysis video. But for now, we hope you can see how bad of a situation we'd ended up in. Also, another quick side note, the imagery's 3D feature makes it look like we were far off the line here, but in reality, we had up until this point maintained our accuracy very well.
So now, luckily, I managed to haul myself back up onto the top, and I was incredibly relieved. I had adrenaline rushing through me. I should have died or seriously injured myself. So we did good. We escaped. But at this point, we were looking along the kind of the bluff ahead of us. There's this kind of steep cliff face, and this like chest-high vegetation just continued. It went on for ages. So me and Finn looked at each other, and we realized it would be seriously dangerous to continue. So there would be plenty more of these cliffs that we would just not see. We just step right through and fall into thin air. And I was shaken up pretty good. I was pretty scared. We filmed a little recount after the fact, but me and Finn are kind of a bit nonchalant, so we don't really express kind of the severity of the situation. But at this point, we decided we had to make a really tough decision.
So going into the mission, we agreed that we didn't want to put ourselves in any serious danger.
So really, we both knew the decision that had to be made.
I looked over at Ollie and said, should we just bail? Which he replied,
Yep. And yeah, I was kind of unnerved from my mildly traumatic experience of falling down a cliff. And just looking ahead, it could have cropped up at least 2 or 3 more times, and it just would not have been safe for us to continue.
we now rejoin old Ollie and Finn as they figure out how to get out of the mess they've got themselves into.
The clip you're about to see is filmed about 2 minutes after the incident, and about 15 metres up from the drop. This clip gives you the best idea of the vegetation and off-camber nature that made the cliff so dangerous.
We came about 50 metres and Ollie almost died down a cliff, so we've decided that we're not going to continue along this.
It might not be able to be seen, but we're meant to be going kind of along the edge of this, climbing up there, and it's all completely off camber, and there are just hidden cliffs underneath the vegetation. Which I did almost just fall down. The fact I didn't, one thanks to the grass at the top that I kind of used to lower myself, and then luckily there was a tree on like an outcrop that I landed on. We're going to head up the spur, so we're probably going to go, at least like 300 metres behind, but we don't really care at this point, and get onto the track and then just assess what we're going to do from there. So that's where we're at.
After taking a few minutes to breathe and let the adrenaline subside, we started to trudge our way up the spur to our left. We saw on our GPS that if we could reach the ridge that the spur joined onto, we would find ourselves on the sledge track, a well-established tramping route in the Tartaruas. Our lives were made a little easier around halfway up when we spotted the pink squares of an indistinct trapping line.
It's kind of flattened out. A bit. Just look out for those pink tags again. Well, if you head slightly to the right, we probably will cross it more likely, is that right? Oh, yep, there's an orange triangle. So, there we go. We have made it to the main, one of the main tracks in Tartaruas, the sledge track.
Gonna gonna have a rest.
have a rest now, try and contact the support crew
Change shoes.
And then we got like maybe a 5k walk or something out. Say at least, yeah.
But it's on a track. Which
It's
is
on a
an
track,
experience.
so, you know, we don't have to follow a bloody straight line.
So we're just on the track, on our way back to the bike path, where we're going to be picked up by our amazing support crew. Bit of a shame it had to end like this, but we definitely made the right call. We didn't want to go any further and potentially actually break a leg or something like that.
Yeah, we told ourselves coming into this that no matter what, we didn't want to put our well-being, or I mean even our lives, on the line for just, you know, the end of the day, which is just a bit of a walk in the woods.
And still, yeah, so sorry if you're a bit disappointed. Hopefully there's still enough entertainment to watch in the first 2.5 days.
Yeah, hopefully you've enjoyed seeing the videos we've taken.
Yeah.
Oh, is this a junction? Sorry, we probably should... Yep, so we're still incredibly proud of ourselves. We definitely made the right decision. I'm sure you'll see on the satellite imagery, we'll kind of try and show you kind of what happened. And I'm sure you'll know more about that than we do right now. But yeah, we're very proud of ourselves and the money that we've managed to raise for Forest and Bird.
And the kind of, how far have we gone?
Yeah, we still feel like, although we didn't even quite get halfway, we still feel like we've come a long, long way from the coast.
Yeah. And still kind of up there with some of Tom's.
Yeah. In terms of New Zealand, like we obviously didn't choose the shortest part of New Zealand or the largest, but you know, 100 kilometres in a straight line is a long, long way.
New Zealand's a pretty thick country.
It is a pretty thick country. Cool. So, a couple more thoughts. If any of you guys out there are wanting to do something like this, I mean, I don't think we'd recommend it, to say the least.
I definitely wouldn't recommend it.
To be honest, while walking along a straight line, I'd say like 85% of it's just grueling and not particularly fun.
But the planning and experiencing what you planned
And
was
then
quite cool.
the little accomplishments of like every hill, every fence crossing, you know, they all feel great. But as an overall, it's just pretty nasty. If you do want to do something like this, we definitely recommend choosing nothing with even a moderate gradient, really. Just because if it looks moderate on a map, there's going to be a lot of pinches and stuff that's just too small to see on the map.
Yeah. And even if you've walked like really steep tracks before, just remember that tracks take you up the best possible route through a climb.
Always.
And a straight line does not.
Not in the slightest.
No.
And then lastly, if you're going to, just remember, like, be respectful of like fences, people's property, like animals, crops, whatever. And just don't do anything stupid, really.
And the bush, respectful.
Be respectful of the bush. Yep. Don't like start a bushfire. That wouldn't be good. Don't litter. If, despite all of this, you do decide to do something similar or another adventure or anything, if you want to reach out and just chat about any finer details, I think we'd be more than happy to.
Yes.
You may be met with some advice not to, but if you're actually determined to, I think we would help you
And we respect
to the
that.
best of our ability.
Yeah.
But we are not liable for any reasons.
No.
We'll have to sign a waiver or something.
Yeah.
And that brings us to the end of the series. We managed to find some patchy reception to get a message through to the support crew, explaining what had happened. We arranged to meet them at a car park entrance to the Tararuas. To reach this point, we had to journey about 6 kilometres, which took us around 2 hours. It felt a bit odd, really, our footsteps having the freedom to fluctuate in any direction. We were incredibly exhausted, but it didn't seem like too far of a distance, considering what we'd been through the last few days. We naturally were a bit disappointed that our journey was coming to an end, yet the 40 kilometres that we did complete made it feel far from a failure. So, from the 5 of us, it's goodbye for now. We hope you've enjoyed watching the Straight Line mission across New Zealand.